Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're looking at a story that, honestly, it feels more like mythology than reality. It's about surviving a plane crash from 10,000 feet over the Peruvian Amazon.
And then surviving the jungle itself. Our sources really let us trace the steps of Juliane Koepcke, who was just a teenager when this all happened.
Right, so let's set the scene. It's Christmas Eve, December 24th, 1971.
Yeah, and Juliane, she's only 17, is on Lanza Flight 508 with her mother, Maria. They're flying from Lima to Pucallpa. But there was this sense of dread even before they took off.
A really strong one. We know her father, who was a zoologist, had warned them. He specifically said not to fly with that airline.
And not to fly on that plane, the Lockheed L-188 Electra. He said it just wasn't built to handle the massive thunderstorms you get over the jungle that time of year.
Which turned out to be tragically, horribly accurate. About 30 minutes into the flight, they fly straight into a monster storm.
Witnesses on the ground described lightning just flashing everywhere around the plane. It was a perfect storm in the worst possible sense.
So today, in this deep dive, we're going to unpack exactly how one person, Juliane, was the sole survivor out of 92 people on board, how she endured 11 days alone in one of the planet's toughest environments.
It's a story of physics, but also of knowledge.
Exactly. So let's start with the crash itself. What happened up there when the storm hit? How does a modern airliner just come apart?
It was incredibly fast. They were cruising at around 21,000 feet, and then the lightning bolt strikes the right wing.
And that's it. That's all it takes.
In this case, yeah, it ignited the fuel, and that triggered a catastrophic structural failure. The wing just broke off. The whole plane started to come apart as it fell, but the final disintegration happened at about 10,000 feet.
10,000 feet, that's a nearly 2-mile drop. And this is where, as you said, the physics get just unbelievable. Juliane is still strapped into her seat, row 19F.
Right, not just her seat, but the entire 3-seat row. It rips away from the rest of the plane, and she's just falling.
Help us understand this, because a fall like that should not be survivable, period.
It shouldn't. And it wouldn't have been, except for this bizarre, almost miraculous combination of 3 very specific factors that all work together to slow her down.
Okay, so this wasn't just a straight drop into the jungle.
Yeah.
What were these factors that gave her even a sliver of a chance?
Well, the first one is the storm itself. The very thing that destroyed the plane also created these massive, powerful updrafts.
Columns of rising air.
Exactly. So instead of just falling through still air, she was, for a time, falling through air that was actively pushing up against her. It slowed that initial free fall.
So she was sort of riding a current inside the storm.
In a way, yes.
Right.
Then there's the second factor, which is the seat row itself. This chunk of the plane didn't fall like a rock. It started to spin, end over end, very fast.
Creating drag.
A huge amount of drag. It was basically acting like a very clumsy, very inefficient helicopter blade or a parachute. It slowed her terminal velocity significantly.
I can't even imagine how disorienting and terrifying that must have been. Absolutely. But then you have the third, and maybe the most crucial factor for the final moments of the fall, the landing zone, the Amazon canopy.
Yeah. I mean, it's often called a second ground for a reason. It's this incredibly thick, dense layer of trees, vines, leaves, and it acted as a giant shock absorber. It cushioned the final impact, preventing her from hitting the hard jungle floor directly.
So the lightning strike is the disaster, but the storm's updrafts, the spinning seats, and the soft canopy, it's a 1 in a billion chain of events.
It really is. And she wakes up after all that on Christmas morning.
What kind of shape was she in?
She was alive, but she was hurt. Badly. A severe concussion, a broken collarbone, and a sprained knee. She could barely move.
And her resources?
Almost nothing. She found a small bag of hard candies, about 30 of them, and she knew right away she had to ration them.
30 candies? But her real survival tool, as you pointed out, wasn't something she found in the wreckage.
No. It was in her head. This is where luck runs out and preparation takes over.
And her preparation was unique.
Completely. Juliane hadn't just visited the Amazon, she grew up there. Her parents were famous zoologists who ran a research station deep in the jungle. She understood the environment.
So she had this practical knowledge that nobody else on that plane had. What was the first thing she did? That first conscious decision?
She remembered a key piece of advice from her father. He always told her, if you're lost in the jungle, don't just wander, find a stream. A small stream always flows into a bigger one, and a bigger one will eventually lead you to a river and to people.
Incredible clarity of thought for someone with a concussion who just fell out of the sky.
It's amazing, and she stuck to it, even with her injuries. She followed a small creek, which was agonizing with a broken collarbone. Then, on the 4th day, she found something grim.
Confirmation of what had happened.
Yes, she saw king vultures circling overhead, which is a sure sign of a carcass. She followed them and found a piece of wreckage with 3 other passengers.
That must have been horrifying.
Horrifying, but it also gave her a strange kind of psychological boost. Her mother wasn't among them, so she held on to the sliver of hope that she might still be alive somewhere, and she kept going.
Okay, so let's get into the endurance part of this.
Mm-hmm.
By day 6, she's followed that rule. She's reached a bigger river. This should be a moment of hope.
It was for a moment, but then it turned into absolute despair. A search plane flew right over her.
Oh, no.
But from the air, the Amazon is just this huge, unbroken blanket of green, one person on a riverbank, you're invisible. The plane didn't see her and just kept going.
And our sources say that soon after that, the official search was called off.
That's right. They assumed there were no survivors. So from her perspective, that was it. No one was coming. She was completely, utterly alone.
And at that point, her physical condition must have been getting really bad.
It was deteriorating fast. The heat, the humidity, her open wounds were getting infected. She had a bad gash on her arm and it started getting infested with maggots.
So that's just...
Yeah. She was starving, getting weaker, and by the 10th day, she couldn't really walk anymore. She had to just get in the river and let the current carry her downstream.
Just pure desperation. But floating is what led her to the next sign of hope.
It did. On day 10, she floated past a small, empty hut, a logger's shelter. It was salvation, but it also required this act of incredible, almost gruesome self-reliance.
You're talking about the maggots.
The infestation was getting severe. In the hut, she found a can of petrol, and she remembered her dad using gasoline once to clean an infection on their dog.
You're not saying she...
She did. She poured the gasoline directly into her most infected wound. She said it forced out something like 30 maggots that were burrowed deep in her arm.
The pain must have been excruciating. That is just an unbelievable act of will.
It probably saved her life. It prevented the sepsis that almost certainly would have killed her. The knowledge from her childhood, again.
And then finally, on the evening of the 11th day, someone shows up.
3 loggers return to their hut, and you have to see it from their side. They walk in and find this ghost, this girl who looks like she's appeared out of nowhere, emaciated, covered in wounds.
Their first reaction was fear.
Complete terror. They thought she was a Yemanja, a mythical water spirit from local folklore. They were genuinely scared of her.
Until she spoke.
Right. She spoke to them in Spanish, told them who she was, told them about the plane crash, and then it clicked. They realized they were looking at the survivor everyone had been searching for.
And they helped her immediately.
Immediately. They cleaned her wounds as best they could, gave her some farinha, a type of manioc flour, to eat, and took care of her until she could be evacuated. After 11 days, her ordeal was over.
Such an incredible end. But we have to remember the final, grim reality here. Juliane Koepcke was the only one who made it out.
She was. But the sources are clear that as many as 14 other people actually survived the initial crash.
14 others. And they died out there in the jungle, waiting for a rescue that never came.
It just hammers home how critical Juliane's knowledge was. They had the same luck to survive the fall, but they didn't have her strategy to survive the jungle.
Which really brings us to her legacy. Her life didn't just go back to normal. She became a zoologist, just like her parents.
Not just a zoologist, she dedicated her life's work to the Amazon. She went back, she focused her research on mammalogy and on conserving the exact rainforest that was the scene of her trauma and her salvation.
That's profound. She commits her life to protecting the very place that took her mother, but also, in a way, saves her.
Yeah, her research often deals with the ecology of the canopy and the river systems, the very things that played a role in her survival. It's like she had to go back to understand it, to master it.
So if you connect all the dots, the knowledge her parents gave her led to those life-saving decisions on the ground. And that experience, in turn, shaped her entire professional life, which she dedicated to paying it back, so to speak.
Exactly. Her survival starts with total random chance, the updrafts, the spinning, the trees. But it ends with total intention, the decision to follow the water, the will to pour gasoline in a wound.
It's such a sharp contrast between luck and preparation. We started this deep dive with an impossible fall, governed by pure physics, and we're ending with this grueling trek governed by pure knowledge.
A story in 2 perfect halves. And it leaves us with a really interesting question for you to think about. Her survival rested equally on that random, lucky confluence of physics and the specific, intentional knowledge passed down from her parents. So it makes you wonder, when we face the truly unknown, what actually offers more protection? A moment of incredible luck or a lifetime of steady preparation?
Yeah.
Fortune versus forethought.
Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the story of Juliane Koepcke.